Hey, what's good? Welcome to my Eddie Guerrero tribute video. Um, it's been 10 years today that Eddie Guerrero passed away. November 13th, 2005 was when Eddie Guerrero died. And just a truly tragic day for any wrestling fan, any fan of WWE at the time. Eddie Guerrero was one of the best parts of wrestling for me. I started watching wrestling in 2002, and besides Undertaker, Eddie Guerrero was my favorite wrestler then, and he was just a lot of fun to watch. You could tell every time he stepped into the ring that he was having fun in there. Every time he was just smiling and having a good time, like I said, and he was great in the ring. He was great on the mic. He knew how to work a crowd. He knew how to wrestle very well, and that goes with his extensive career uh, in Japan, in Mexico, wrestling all over the world, and being born in the wrestling business, having dad Gory Guerrero, who was one of the biggest stars in Mexican wrestling history. He was the biggest heel for a very long time in in Mexico. So of course he got his brothers too, Hector Guerrero, Chavo Guerrero Sr. But besides being having all that to live up to, Eddie Guerrero lived up to it and surpassed it, even becoming WWE champion. Not only becoming WWE champion, but beating Brock Lesnar. And for me, that match is one of the greatest matches of all time, one of the greatest underdog moments in the history of wrestling. And just his gimmick, the lie, cheat, and steal, he really came to his own. And around 2003, 2004, and it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure to watch him. He just embraced every aspect of the wrestling business, coming out in lowriders, uh, say, orale, viva la raza. That's Eddie Guerrero, man. And so many people so many people looked up to him and related to him when he was wrestling. And I could say that after Eddie Guerrero died, the wrestling, at least WWE, it became a lot less fun. It just became a lot harder to watch. It just wasn't as good anymore. It was missing a key factor, a huge factor in there. It was like a fundamental part of it was missing once Eddie Guerrero died, and I truly, truly feel that way, that wrestling's not fun anymore, and part of it's because characters like Eddie Guerrero don't exist, and what I mean by that is, guys, they just can't be themselves. They can't embrace themselves. They can't be who they are. They got to be a character. They got to read through a teleprompter. They're not just allowed to be them and embrace that. They gotta be their own character. They gotta be the character. They gotta embrace the product fully. And even though Eddie Guerrero embraced the product and he loved WWE, he loved wrestling, you could see that there's a fire that burned in him, and that's the Latino heat, right? And every time he passed through those curtains, you knew Eddie Guerrero was going to give 100%. A few of my favorite Eddie Guerrero matches was the six-man tag at Survivor Series 2002. Great match. It was Los Guerreros, Chavo and Eddie against Rey Mysterio and Edge, and Kurt Angle and Chris Benoit. If you haven't seen that, that's one of the greatest tag team matches of all time. John Cena versus Eddie Guerrero. I'm not a John Cena fan. Not anymore, at least. But his parking lot brawl with John Cena, awesome, brutal, brutal match, man. I'm talking about people were smashing each other's heads through windshield. This is a brutal match. These matches are on this too, and this one. So just in case, I'm not product pushing, but these are also great DVDs if you just want to see great matches. His match with Chris Benoit, Vengeance, where he just does his panic when Rhino does the gore to Chris Benoit, and he's like, he just pins him. He just let his character shine, and it's unfortunate that he left us so soon. When I think he still had a lot, he made even Batista's match. His match with Batista, I still think is probably his best match in one of his best matches in WWE, Batista's best matches. He made him look so good. Of course, he was bumping all over the place for Batista because he's a big, big man. But it's unfortunate. I heard rumors that he was supposed to fight Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 22, and that just would have been incredible. Uh, a few rivalries that I would have liked him in, which you got Shawn Michaels. That would have been a great match. You got CM Punk now, Daniel Bryan. Um, who could he be? Triple H, a rivalry with Triple H. I think that could have worked if he would have went to Raw. Randy Orton. There was just so much potential for Eddie Guerrero to still live on, and he probably would have won the Royal Rumble in 2006 had he not died. I mean, Rey Mysterio won it because he died, and Brian Zane did a great video about the WWE's exploitations on Eddie Guerrero's death, and that was just sickening, man. That was it. They really exploited Eddie Guerrero's death. You had Randy Orton saying that Eddie Guerrero was in hell, and I'm like, wow. I mean, I was 12 years old. I was like, dude, like that's not cool at all. And they should be ashamed of how they treated Eddie Guerrero's legacy and how they try to take advantage and how they did and how they made a lot of money off Eddie Guerrero's legacy. And in a way, it's the fans' fault, like in that video suggested, but it's WWE's fault for wanting to exploit and wanting to make money off that, and being just being so willing, to just forget about the legacy and just try to make cash out all the way on his legacy. And just a story on how I found out about his death. I was just walking outside my room, and my sister's like, she knew I was a big wrestling fan. She was like, "Oh, you know Eddie Guerrero?" I was like, "Yeah, Eddie Guerrero." She's like, "Oh, he died today." I was like, "No, no, 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 no." I was like, "No, no, no, he didn't. No, no." So I was totally in denial. She's like, "Yeah, it was in the news. He's dead." I was like, "Damn." And and his tributes in Raw and SmackDown were just so heartwarming. I believe those are, like I've said in so many other aspects in this video, but it was one of my I'll say it's one of my favorite Raws. I just love memorials. I love when they give tribute to the fallen, and that was a very very good episodes of Raw and SmackDown. When Eddie Guerrero died, everyone giving their testimony, them honoring Eddie Guerrero, pointing up with the shirts, the "I'm Your Papi" shirts at that time, and yeah, I'll never forget those Raws. I'll never forget Eddie Guerrero matches on SmackDown with Los Guerreros against the world's greatest tag team. When they stole those titles, when they stole the portrait of Kurt Angle and they painted all over it, and then they smashed it on I think it was Sean Benjamin's head. Never forget Eddie Guerrero's matches, how he was just excellent in the ring. His days in ECW and WCW, where he was he was showing his wrestling ability, and then in WWE he was allowed to show his personality. Everything that made him great was shown in WWE. And yeah, 10 years, man, and it just feels like the other day, man, that I was watching wrestling, and I could see Eddie Guerrero on SmackDown, and it's just unfortunate because no one could replace Eddie Guerrero. That's just how great he was, and I do believe that he should have been in the Hall of Fame in the next WrestleMania, which was a great decision by WWE, and just Eddie Guerrero, man. If you don't know who he is, I suggest you go check him out on YouTube. I would even suggest buying one of these DVDs if you really want to get acquainted with him. Buy this one that has his life story. And if you really, really want to get acquainted with him, buy his book, Cheating Death, Stealing Life, the Eddie Guerrero story. Really good book. Really good book. You really get the insights of how he felt growing up, how he felt getting into the wrestling business, and just the troubles that he had. He had a lot of problems with drugs early on, with alcohol. He became addicted to pain medications. He really has a tragic story, and I would truly suggest you guys to look into it if you don't already know. And if you do already know, you know the struggles that he overcame, and you know how far he came to be. That becoming WWE champion was huge, huge. And you know that it was a very sad day in wrestling, the day he died. So just rest in peace, Eddie. 10 years, man. Damn. And I still wish that I still wish that you were on wrestling. You'd probably be retired, or you'd probably be in a manager role. Eddie Guerrero as a manager would be great, man. It would have been awesome. Maybe as a commentator or as a GM. There's just sky's the limit for what Eddie did, but he just still accomplished so much. But just as selfish wrestling fans, we would wish that he would have stayed at least a little longer. So rest in peace, Eddie. And you guys have a great day.